Hi people, it's me again, Marino Ravenberg. I'm gonna do a really quick video on the subject matter of why spirits hate and or dislike people. I think I've mentioned this in the past before, but I have no separate video on the subject for those that were wondering. And I think I might have mentioned it in my live streams or in a similar situation, or maybe briefly in one of my videos or two of my videos on differently related subjects. Anyways, let's get down to business as usual. Why do spirits hate and or dislike people? Especially celestial spirits or primarily celestial spirits such as angels. They simply dislike people because people are the equivalent, more or less, of vermin to them. People are beneath them, but they don't dislike and or hate people because of arrogance. They simply dislike and or they hate and or dislike people because people are low vibrational, to say the least. I mean, by comparison, you can't compare an angel to a person. An angel is literally the embodiment of virtue, more or less, so to speak. And then you have people in general, and most of us are familiar with mankind and the many faults that mankind has. Of course, you can argue that that's the case through no fault of their own, but that's beside the point. My point is that the angels, we as people, of course, I find I'm a very different person, so that doesn't so much apply to me as to the average person. When I say people or mankind, I'm referring to the average person. To them, people as a whole are like, it's like, from their perspective, it's like they are global elites, okay, and the average person, okay, that represents mankind in a nutshell or shortly summarized, is like some ghetto piece of crap that lives in a back alley or in a similar environment. And when I say that, I'm not referring to poverty or to anything related to the material resources. No. I'm referring to the despicable behavior that people display. All the sins, greed, egocentrism, just an overall lack of virtue. Okay, an overall lack of spiritual virtue, and look at the things that people do, the despicable behavior that people display in general, mankind displays in general. So you can imagine how lowly it is to them, okay? The lying, the cheating, the stealing, all of that stuff that so many people on a global level, plead guilty to, hypothetically speaking. From their perspective, imagine you being someone that is literally, it's like the average person that is decent, at least up to a moderate extent, and has his act together. And then all of a sudden, would you want some low life near you? Obviously not. None of us do. Civilized society does not want low lives near them. And by low life, you mean someone that lies, cheats, and steals and displays, generally speaking, behavior that has no virtue whatsoever, behavior that can be seen as filthy. That's what it's like, okay? The same way that we hate vermin, okay? And that vermin will only come within an area that is dirty or that is, generally speaking, unkept or not clean or unclean. The same concept applies to specifically celestial spirits in general, okay? Humans are spiritually filthy. They're, for the most part, devoid of virtue, devoid of spiritual positivity, and they pretty much embody spiritual positivity. And of course some more than others, but my point is still celestials are celestials. Even tiny spirits, okay, even non-celestial spirits are not too fond of people. I mean, demons are fond of people, but not for that reason, okay, except the demons that generally speaking revel in a lack of human virtue. They simply revel in spiritual filth. But generally speaking, even infernal spirits, even pagan gods, spirits that were created, that were man-made or created by man, either deliberately or inadvertently or by sheer accident or unbeknownst to the creator or creators, they find themselves in a more elevated position. And to actually, to say that they like people is a stretch now. They're more willing to and or keen on communicating with people for their own personal gain, of course, but generally speaking it's a win-win situation. Or the worst spirits, the spirits that are the, hypothetically speaking, filthiest, will simply try to screw you over and be out for their own gain, and they simply want to see you suffer. But generally speaking, the average spirit is not too keen on people. I'm gonna go ahead and say that generally speaking, you can also exclude the dead, obviously, because the dead, honestly, you can still, despite the fact that they're spirits, obviously, and they're no longer part of the material world in that sense, that they don't have a material body as a vessel. You can still exclude them because they still belong to mankind overall. But point in case is that the highest spirits, so celestial spirits in general, spirits that are pure spiritually, they detest mankind in general, and they dislike people. The same way that someone like me, for example, dislikes any form of negativity, okay, especially human negativity, so lying, cheating, stealing. I don't want, nor naturally speaking, I repel those kind of types, and nor do I want them near me. I don't want some worthless or nothing low-life parasite near me that has little to no manners and decency whatsoever, and just displays overall detrimental behavior. That nonsense is just offensive to me. In that same context, it would be offensive to any civilized person that strives towards spiritual excellence and tries to not sin, so to speak, as much as possible. Okay, at least tries to. So to someone like that, it's someone a low life like that is just. It's just you outright reject something like that. The same way that you would reject vermin. You won't want to see rats running, scurrying across your house, etc. Nor will they, assuming that you keep a clean household. But if you don't, sooner or later you're going to see stuff like that. The same concept applies to spirits overall. Okay, celestial spirits. That's how they view mankind, as vermin. They're low vibrational, and they don't want people. They don't want anything to do with people in general, unless there is something in it for them, and or they can actually help the person, and they also gain to the point where it's worth their time. Okay, it's the equivalent of, like, again, laugh for the last time, it's the equivalent of living in the nicest neighborhood in town and then having to go, or someone suggesting that you go to the worst neighborhood in town. You're going to obviously say, like, no, do I look like a parasite? Do I look like some ghetto piece of shit? You'll only do it if there's something in it for you, if you can benefit from it in any way, shape, or form, to the point where it's worth it for you to actually go to that neighborhood, to go through all the trouble. That's also why the material world is the lowest, or at the very least one of the lowest. Generally speaking, it's the lowest vibrational sphere, the lowest spiritual sphere. And you can imagine that someone from one of the highest spiritual spheres, for someone like that to actually come to the material plane within a spiritual context or within the broad scope of things, it's just a big no-no. Okay, and that's the answer to why spirits hate and or dislike people in general. So that's all. Have a good one. Bye.